It's Christmas Eve, and a priest is on a mission to stop the arrival of the Antichrist. He's willing to do whatever it takes, even if that means sinning in the eyes of God. This one bounces around a few genres, including dark comedy, so join us as we check out The Day of the Beast. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Tim.
Heavy.
This is a horror movie podcast, and it's also Christmas season, so once again we are on the lookout for some Christmas episodes, and today we're tackling a Spanish movie called The Day of the Beast, which came out in 1995, a movie I heard about a few years ago, and it's been kind of sitting there like waiting to be tagged in for Christmas season at some point. So we'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please do hit the like button. It helps us out a bunch if you do. You can also support the show over at Patreon or via YouTube membership and get some bonus stuff, but I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. The Day of the Beast is about a priest who believes he has decoded some passages, and he's convinced that the end of the world, coming in line with the birth of the Antichrist, will happen by the end of Christmas Eve, 1995. So he's on a mission in Madrid to try and find this birth of the Antichrist so he can kill it. That is the premise of The Day of the Beast. The genre here is a little bit weird, actually, because I actually double-checked with Tim if this was a Screams movie, because obviously it sounds like a Screams movie in a lot of ways, but it's also kind of got a lot of comedy in it. There's a bit of action in it, as well as the horror elements that are there. I do think it is suitable for the show, but it is definitely one of those movies that mishmashes a bunch of different things together in the way that I feel like it's more of a foreign movie thing. I feel like American movies don't mash this many genres together usually. Like American movies don't know how to jungle all the tones the way that some other countries seem to be able to. I don't know why, but yeah. But you had seen this before, right?
Yeah. So this one's interesting because I feel like I saw it kind of early, like because it's not that hard to find now. Like it's on like Shudder and stuff, and you can easily stream it places. But I want to say in like the early 2000s, my brother had this book that was like one of those like the 100 like craziest horror movies that you've never seen, or something like that. And like I think a lot of it was like cult stuff or stuff that was banned in the US, and I might be wrong, but I believe this one was banned at least for a little bit. I'm guessing probably because watching it now, I don't think it's very bad, but I mean, maybe at the time, I guess some of the subject matter was a bit taboo, You can
see the church raising a stink, I think.
Right, yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing that shocking in it, by any normal standards.
But I think my brother somehow had managed to get like a copy on DVD. I don't know if it was like it was probably like either a bootleg or just from a country that was like region free or something. So I'd actually watched this like quite a bit ago. So I still remembered like the gist of it and stuff, but it was it definitely had been a while.
Yeah. It is interesting that this is this kind of, at least, I mean, maybe in Spain it's a little bit more well known, but like certainly from my perspective, it's this cult movie that I'd never heard of until maybe 3 years ago. And my first viewing of it, you're talking about having to like get some sort of like import or bootleg to see it in the early 2000s. The first time I watched this today was in like 4K with like surround sound. I'm like, I'm getting like all the trimmings here for a movie that most people had to watch in like a crappy copy probably back in the day, if they even found it in the first place. So just interesting how times change in that way.
And I know I'm probably just sounding like an old man and stuff, but I do kind of miss some of those things, because there are all those movies that you always had to like work a little harder to find, and then it's like once you got it, it was like, oh yeah, like it just felt like such a sense of accomplishment or something. And sometimes the movies ended up like being shit, like it doesn't, like there might be a reason why they're hard to find or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I feel like very few people probably have that problem nowadays. Like, the worst case scenario, almost anything is available at least to like pay to rent or whatever. So times they are a changing, as they say.
Yeah, I love how you said pay to rent as if that's like the last possible, like, like only if I absolutely must will I rent a movie.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of people that like, if it's not on a streaming service I already have, then I'll just wait or whatever.
Oh yeah,
like,
no. Yeah, his name is Matt. I've met him. Yeah, yeah. A movie doesn't exist unless it's on a streaming service that he happens to have, which is so frustrating to me. I'm telling you, this movie's good. Just go watch it. You sack of shit. Anyway, that's the old man in me coming out, because I'm like, no, I've been collecting movies since I was like 11. So the idea of not just buying or renting a movie when you want to watch it is just weird to me. But yeah, whatever.
I don't know. I do kind of see there is like a weird barrier where like I will gladly dish out like the $20 it takes to go to the movie or whatever, but then like if I have to rent something online for like $3, I'm kind of like, should I but I don't know. I think part of it is just like when it comes to streaming stuff, it's like, well, I have this never ending list of things to watch on these other streaming services. Do I really need to spend money when I'm already spending money on these other ones that I still have stuff to watch, but but then the problem is that but most of the stuff you're waiting to watch is probably like shit, and then the thing you would have to spend money on is potentially a good movie or more exciting, interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, easy solution, Tim. Stop paying for the streaming services and use that to rent the movies you actually want to watch. That is the advice I always give whenever this subject comes up. Watch what you want to watch.
Unfortunately, now that I have kids, I'm just kind of stronghold into having certain services. It's like, oh, they like this one show that they need to watch every day. Like, all right, I guess I can never get rid of this or that.
Yeah, even at that point, like, I guess if they're making new episodes, but surely if they really like a specific show, you can just buy that show and like, hey, there it is forever.
I suppose. But...
Do the winds just change too often to make that feasible? Is it like 1 week they're into this thing, next week they're into that thing? Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a, like there's certain stuff that's their go-to things, and then every now and again they'll try something new and then get into it. But yeah, I don't know. It all depends. But
all right, this tangent's gone on far too long because you're an old man. So let's get into the feelings of the movie here. So yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. I'd had this recommended to me, but the weird mishmash of genres meant I didn't really know how to, like, am I going to go into this and it's going to be mostly kind of like fun or badass? Is it going to be more hard hitting? Am I going to be feeling like tension? Am I going to be... I didn't know what to expect, so I was very curious going into it. But I always ask you first. So Tim, what did you think of the Day of the Beast?
I enjoy it. I think it's pretty fun. I really, really like the premise, which I don't think you actually really mentioned, because I mean, like you said, it is, the priest is looking for the Antichrist, but I don't think you mentioned that part of that is he's trying to commit as much like sin and like evil deeds as he can in order to kind of like gain favor and like with Satanists and Satan, which I just think is an extremely fun premise. If anything, I think maybe they probably could have gone like a little farther with some of that stuff. But I mean, yeah, I don't really have any complaints. I think it's a very solid, fun movie. I think all the main characters are giving pretty good performances. I would probably put this, more than anything, I would say this is like a comedy, like a dark comedy, I suppose. With like obviously the horror elements. But I think a lot of it is kind of played for laughs. But I don't know. It's kind of weird because I do kind of wonder maybe if like I should like it more, because I do think it is like a pretty not like a like it has like a bit of a cult status. I think people do like it, and I don't know if I can say like I love it. Like I think it's good. You know, I have a good time, but I don't know. Maybe I wish I went a little further, or maybe wish I was laughing a little bit harder. But not trying to like damn it with faint praise or anything. Like I think it is, you know, good for what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it quite a bit. I think it has good pacing. It's got a good energy. I think as you realize like what the premise is, and like as it's starting to unfold, I think there's a kind of a weird, quirky energy to it, and I guess that's the dark comedy really that's given it that. But it really has this weird quirkiness of this priest doing these shitty little things, even though he seems like a good guy, but he's doing these really awful little things to people, and it's like, okay, all right, and then it kind of develops, and I think what I like about it the most is that it kind of develops significantly for each new act, because like act one, it's mostly him on his own doing various things. Act two, it's like, okay, we kind of form this trio of characters and they're kind of doing a thing. And in act three, it gets a bit more crazy, a bit more wacky, more big things are going on, and some interesting visuals. Honestly, if I was to make a critique, the only thing I would maybe say is that the whole him doing bad things, because part of it is that he thinks he has to like be accepted by Satan or Satan worshippers, one of the two, to like find the Antichrist. I don't actually think that ends up mattering that much in the third act. It feels like it wasn't really a big deal in the end. So I do wish that I felt like it had a bit more payoff. But other than that, most of the antics are really fun to watch. I think the three trio of lead characters end up all being relatively entertaining and kind of have a weird offbeat energy with each other. It feels like it kind of walks this tightrope of having its tongue in its cheek a little bit, so it can get away with doing things that are a little bit goofy, but at the same time, there's moments that are a little bit more like, oh, this is a bit more harsh, this like, you know, violent moment, or this is a little bit more wacky or hard hitting, this little moment here. So yeah, I had a good time with it. I think it was really entertaining, and I had a good time, and I think there is a little bit of ambiguity. Like, I think there's some open to interpretation if any of it was even that real. To be honest, I think by the time we get to the end, so once we get to spoilers, we can debate that and talk about it a little bit. But because there's absolutely a possibility early on that this priest is just an insane man who has convinced himself that this is happening and that he's just doing crazy things because he's lost his mind. That's entirely possible, and I think the movie does leave some room in there for you to speculate on that. So, you know, we'll get into that once we get into spoilers a bit more. But no, I think the movie's an hour 45, and I think I never felt like, I think it changed things up enough every time it sort of got to a new city, because I was a little bit worried in the middle that we were going to spend a lot of time in this like one apartment, because we kind of sort of stay there for a little bit. But no, it shook things up again. It kept us moving. It kept things, you know, feeling bigger, and you know, it's kind of a relatively low budget movie, but it also feels like it has some big moments that they, you know, maybe focused a bit of their budget on to make sure a couple of things felt bigger, felt a bit more cinematic. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it ends up having some like pretty fun set pieces and everything. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird because I really don't have any complaints, but I don't know. It's also not one that I'm like gushing about with love, you know? Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But like, yeah, there's definitely like nothing like bad about it.
Yeah, you're sounding like you're a bit more lukewarm on it than I am, but I don't know. I had a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just maybe I just feel like I should like it more. But it's not saying that I like hate it or anything. Maybe it's because I've seen it, which I actually might have seen it 2 times before. Which is kind of funny. But the only reason why I'm saying that is because when I went to like log in on Letterboxd, and I noticed I already had it logged, and I was like, oh, like, I mean, obviously I didn't log it like when I saw it in like the early 2000s or whatever. Like Letterboxd didn't exist, so I was like, oh, maybe I saw it one other time since then.
It existed in our hearts, Tim.
Yeah.
We were all just waiting for Letterboxd to exist.
I know. But yeah, no, it's I mean, yeah, I really don't have like anything like negative to say about it. It's interesting.
Well, this will be a riveting conversation then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stoke some fires. It's way better than Leprechaun, Tim. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it's there's my son's been getting into a lot of like comparing stuff. Like, he'll be eating something and he'll be like, oh, like, my food's better than yours, or this is better than that, or like, oh, I have the better, it's always like very weird, like stuff that doesn't matter, like my drink's better than yours, like you're both drinking milk, it's the same stuff or whatever. So I guess what I have to say to that is that there's no reason to compare. Like, things can be like good in their own separate ways.
Very diplomatic of you, but don't speak to me like I'm your son, Tim, okay? I will not be disrespected, right, as one of your offspring. Also, is he saying this to you or his sister?
Kind of saying it to everyone.
Okay,
it's definitely it's a lot with his sister. Like, there seems to be some sense of competition, but he'll also say it to me, or my wife or whatever. So
I'm the firstborn. He'll be hitting with that once he understands that.
Yeah.
And if she's smart, she'll realize that whenever someone wants a sacrifice, it's always the firstborn that gets killed. She'll throw that back in his face if she thinks about it. It's always the firstborn. Unless they want a girl specifically, in which case, sorry, that's your turn to be sacrificed.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we don't, end up having too much sacrificing in our future. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I mean, as far as anything else before we get into spoilers, I like the three like main actors. I think they all do a reasonable job. I think they all have very different energy, which makes them feel like a really oddball grouping of characters, because one's this kind of timid old priest. Even though he's doing kind of crazy things occasionally, he's still very much what you think of as a priest. You've got kind of this cheesy like TV psychic character who's got the facial hair and he does all that kind of stuff. He kind of has this kind of sleazy like showman kind of quality to him. And then Jose, who's this sort of like metalhead Satanist guy, is just kind of this wild card who just feels like he's ride or die for the priest, like so quickly with very little like reason to be ride or die for him. But he's like, yeah, I'm in, man.
They actually end up having like a pretty sweet relationship. Like, yeah. I don't know. I kind of like how much like, they got each other's backs.
Yeah. So yeah, and obviously if you're going to consider watching this, yeah, obviously there's some violence, although I wouldn't say it's the most hard-hitting violence per se for the most part, aside from maybe one thing which it's very clearly fake, but it does stick out as like, oh, an American movie would never do that. Also, old man penis. If you don't want to see old man penis, maybe you consider your options. But yeah, it's not even sexual. It's just a guy walking about naked. That's all it is.
Right.
But but they're Europeans. They don't care about hiding it. They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a sick little bitch, but like I do kind of like, I don't know, like wish they maybe would have played up like some more violence or had some like gore in it or something. Like, I don't know. I think that like that could have been fun, but hey, maybe I'm just a little messed up in the head.
I never felt like it was lacking in that stuff, because it's not like it's a slasher movie where I'm expecting really inventive kills. It's not that type of movie, so I wasn't thinking it was lacking that. I thought when it did have violence, it tended to be either quite kind of like awkwardly painful, because you don't usually see someone get hit that way in the head, so it feels a bit more visceral than normal or something like that.
Sure.
The movie generally looks pretty good with the modern transfer. There is a few like effect shots where they're a bit soft looking, where you can tell by the way they've like green screened or done the opticals or whatever, it's a bit softer looking. But generally speaking, it looks pretty solid if you're watching like the modern transfer, which I assume is what's on most places that it's streaming and whatnot now. So yeah, okay. Tim's looking at me like a deer in the headlights. I guess we'll get into spoilers and we'll talk about the movie. You've been warned. Spoilers for Day of the Beast. All right. Now, I knew I might be onto a winner as soon as the giant cross fell down and crushed the old priest at the start.
That was pretty funny.
I knew I was onto it because he comes to this old priest and he's like, Father, I've decoded the ancient texts. I believe the apocalypse is nigh. Blah blah blah. And he's giving all these things, and he's like, oh, we must be careful. The devil could be listening to us now. And then the cross just falls down and completely flattens the old man. Cut to titles, and I think you don't actually get an explanation beforehand about the whole he has to do shitty things to try and get in good with the Satanists so that he can get close to the Antichrist. So you do get there's a nice sense of discovery as the opening titles are playing out, and he's arriving in the city in Madrid, and he's looking around, and the first thing he does is he walks past a homeless man who's got a little hat out or something, a little box for change for people to throw in, and he just kind of casually picks it up and starts pouring it into his hand and then leaves it and walks away as the homeless man starts yelling and pointing at him. And I thought this was really good the way they did this, because it's not like he grabs a handful of money and just runs for it because he knows he's doing something shady. The way this priest does his bad things, he just keeps doing them oh, I don't even have to act like I'm doing something wrong. I'll just do them. I'll do them I've got a right to be doing them, and I shouldn't expect any fight. Now, obviously, that gets him in trouble later on, but right from the very get-go, that's the way he does this. He just picks it up and does it as if no one will stop him or argue with him.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it work so well is, so much of the movie is hanging on, main actor's performance, but yeah, I just like the way that he portrays it. He's not pretending to be this over the top evil guy. Whenever he does something, he does it very matter of fact, and very dryly, which is so much funnier than if it was Jim Carrey doing it and who was doing this big over the top performance. You know what I mean? I like that it was a bit more subdued, and yeah, he it never feels like he's putting on a character or trying to be evil. He's just trying to do bad, but in this very kind of banal way, which I thought was funny.
The second one is that he happens to walk up to what looks like a car accident or something. Some guy's been badly burned, and he's basically just lying there dying. And he walks up and he puts his cross out, and the guy kisses it, and it looks like he's about to give him last rites and give him some sort of send off kind of thing. But he just casually reaches into the guy's coat, takes out his wallet, and then leans down and whispers into his ear, "I hope you burn in hell," and just walks away. That is legitimately very funny. And in the moment, I was like, wait, why is he doing all these shitty little things? Because they hadn't explained this yet, that he felt he needed to infiltrate the Satanists or whatever. So it was genuinely kind of okay, and there's this drum beat going the whole time, and I'm like, okay, I'm into what this guy's doing. I don't know why he's doing it, but I'm but that's the weird thing, is that it feels like he's still, because we know he's trying to stop the apocalypse, you still have that little tinge of feeling of I still think he at least thinks he's doing this for a good reason, right? We don't really know exactly what it is yet, but it doesn't feel like he's just being evil for the sake of being evil. So yeah, that's kind of what sets us off in this character's journey, and then he interacts with a variety of people. Obviously, he meets Jose at the record shop, and when we meet Jose, he's actually putting some guy's head through his glass counter because he was trying to steal CDs, and shows him away. And the priest is here because he wants to find some Iron Maiden, some other records, so he can play them backwards and hear hidden messages about Satan, which is such an old urban myth thing that
I mean, that's what's funny too, is he's this very feels kind of like old out of touch guy that's trying to figure out all right, what's the evil thing the kids are doing nowadays, heavy metal music. And then one thing I don't want to skip by though, that really made me laugh in that opening kind of montage is
the suitcase.
He's just when he's just walking by was it just a mime or a street performer or something that was on top of this railing or whatever, and he just very casually pushes him as he walks by, and he falls down this flight of stairs. Which, again, it's just very how nonchalant he is about it that like really gets me.
Yeah, because no one suspects it because he's a priest. They just assume
Right,
he's
yeah.
going to be a nice old calm priest. He also steals someone's
Yeah.
suitcase. So he sort of like just waits for them because they're waiting for a cab, so they leave their suitcase on the side of the pavement, and he just sort of like takes it and walks off with it,
Yeah.
as you do. But yeah, Jose like recommends some stuff, tries to bring up this band that he's got a demo tape for called Satanica, I think was the name of the band. And he's trying to explain, and he's so into the fact that this priest wants to listen to like death metal and heavy metal music that he's like, hey, take the tape for free. And the priest said he couldn't pay for it anyway, and I think that's because he needs to be evil. Although he does pay for a room later, so it's not like he won't take something for money. But I guess that's but anyway, Jose is the one that recommends like a boarding house. He's like, hey, my mum runs this boarding house. You can go see her and get a room if you need a place to stay, kind of thing. And that's what sets us off there. And even when we're introducing to like these characters, because it's not the mum that we meet first, although we see her pop her head out the door, which is actually one of the weird little moments that caught me off guard. Is that when the priest comes and he I think it's Mina's the name of the younger woman who's like sort of helping run this place. She opens the door. And he has to like sort of beg to come in because she said, "Oh, the rooms are full. The only one that's there is like being done up, so it's like half like destroyed or whatever." And he's like, "It's fine. I just need a place to sleep." But when he comes in and he's talking to her, the like Jose's mum, like the landlady or whatever you want to call her, like she just does this moment where she just sticks her head out. We don't even know who she is yet. She just sticks her head out, and there's like a sort of music sting, and she puts her head back in, and it's just this weird little quirky beat, and I'm like, okay, this movie's got little flourishes. Like, that's what I was feeling here. I was like, okay, whatever's happening, I don't know if the plot's going to be satisfying, but it's got these little quirky little offbeat flourishes that are just peppering every scene to make you feel like there's a sense of energy to everything. So, I don't know. I was digging this.
Yeah, I can't really argue with like the direction. Like it's certainly has like a style and confidence to it. Like the director knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I also love because I think we saw it in like a store window, and I think Mina was watching it before the priest knocked on the door, and we see it again the next day, when the priest is watching it at a diner with Jose, because Jose comes back and they meet each other again at breakfast, and they get talking, and he explains that he needs to go find like Satanist or the Antichrist or whatever. This is where we first get the uncle character who's just walking around with his dick out, so he's like just traipsing about. So that's just kind of whatever. But he sees again the TV, this TV psychic. His name's Kavan, right? And he's this guy with a beard and goatee, and he's doing a call-in show where people ask their futures, and he's got like footage of a possessed boy that he apparently performed an exorcism on, and and it's all very hokey. And I think that's the other thing about this priest character is that between like trying to play records backwards and then just actually paying a serious attention to this guy on TV, it feels like you don't know how to actually find anything that's actually really satanic, right? You're seeing this hokey stuff that all of us just know is a bunch of make-believe bullshit, and that's where you're searching. It's not like you're going to, I don't know, like the archives at the monastery and looking into like the ancient texts, and I don't know, like finding something that would, finding Sam Neill and Exorcist, or sorry, not Exorcist, Omen 3, that's what I was trying to say. Finding Sam Neill and Omen 3 or whatever it is, like it's all very like these things that clearly wouldn't lead to anything real, but he keeps kind of stumbling into like things that do lead somewhere as well, bizarrely. Or whether that's just because he wants to believe them is another question, I suppose. But yeah.
So like at this point, are you like believing in him, or are you believing, or are you kind of like, all right, is this guy full of shit? Like, does he even know what he's talking about, or what?
Well, he definitely comes across crazy to everyone he talks to, because when he tries stealing the book from the psychic TV psychic from the store, and he gets like taken, not arrested, is just maybe not the right term, but he gets apprehended by security and taken to like the head of security who talks to him, and he tries to say everything and why he's doing it, and the guy's just like, okay, phone all the insane asylums, like they've lost a priest apparently. I think my feeling around this part of the movie is that everything he's doing feels hopeless, which is making it entertaining, but it's a quirky enough movie that I bet that it might be real, right? It's the sort of thing where the tone of the movie was making me think, obviously this wouldn't be real, but I think it will be real in this movie because that's funnier, kind of thing. Right. That was the vibe I was getting at this point, I would say. But what I was trying to say though is I was loving the TV sidekick stuff. I was loving the cheesiness, like the VHS looking quality of it, the stock music with the dreamlight kind of doodle-oots over it and all that. I was digging the vibe of all that. So it kind of becomes this thing where he's like, oh, I need to get to this guy. I need to get to Kavan and like find out, like he'll know, like there's bits in his book about summoning Satan to have a chat with him. Let's go and talk to him. And we get almost kind of like a plot set up for, I don't know, like almost like a kind of comedy-esque, we're going to like kidnap the TV presenter kind of thing and like make him tell us how to do this or help with the ritual, which ends up being a big chunk of the middle of the movie. Is that them going to his apartment, which I thought was a super interesting location for me, was Kavan's apartment, because the interior had like a really fancy staircase, kind of like stairwell, right? It was a really cool design and layout. It felt like a really rich place. The apartment itself felt very big, but outside his window there was a giant like neon display for was it Schweppes? Yeah. And it was like, you could hear it buzzing in the background and it was covering all the windows. And I'm like, either this got you a huge discount because of this shitty display that's right out your window, or they added this later and you must be furious that they, like whoever owns this building sold all this space to advertising. Surely you have rights here. But I'm not complaining because like it's actually a really cool backdrop for the location. And then eventually, you know, at the end of Act 2, they're actually climbing out onto it and like dangling from it and all that.
Yeah, it ends up leading to like a really fun set piece. So.
Yeah. So I was digging the location. I thought it was a really cool, unique place. So it was a fun place to be for like the middle of the movie. Not that we stay there exclusively. We kind of have the main character like bouncing out and coming back. Because when they show up and the priest kind of barges his way in and hits him and ties him up and all that, Kavan basically just kind of says, you need this, you need that, and you need the blood of a maiden, right? And it just so happens that Kavan's lady friend was coming by, so she shows up, and when she realizes something's going on, like she runs away and the priest has to go and grab her, and even that's like a fun little sequence because he chases her down the stairs and she ends up falling and knocking herself out. And he tries to like drag her back up. The automatic lights switch off, and then like a neighbor comes out and looks. What, did you hear a scream? No, I don't hear anything. And go back. So that was a fun little like mini sequence. But this all leads to like them being like, okay, we're going to take her blood. Not too much or anything, just a little bit. We just need a little bit for the ritual. And he's like, no, she won't do. She's not a maiden. She's not a virgin. And like, are you sure? And he just gives them this look where he's like, yes. I'm pretty sure. I can guarantee it.
That's funny.
Yeah. And then it leads back to the young woman who's working for Jose's mom because the priest gets the idea that maybe she's a virgin. Maybe he can go because Jose was complaining that she wouldn't have sex with him. Now, admittedly, I don't think that means she's a virgin. She might just, in her own words, he's a fat drug addict who, has no prospects. So I get why she might still say no, but that ends up becoming like a mission in the middle. I think what I'm kind of getting at here is I was liking how everything led to the next goal. Like it felt very neatly laid out, where something led to that, and then that led to this, and then that led to that, and it all felt like it was all building to some kind of whole. I think the big thing is that once they do pull off the ritual and they go through all this stuff and Kavan helps them and he's still kind of tied up, is that, nothing happens immediately and then they're like, nothing's happening. And Kavan's like, yeah, of course nothing's happening. It's all a bunch of nonsense. I sell this book to idiots. It's not real. But then we get the satanic goat looking thing coming in.
No complaints here. That's a good looking goat.
Oh, it's your favorite scene of the movie. I'm no doubt. But they all see it, all three of them. Now they're all on LSD.
Yeah.
Right, which is the wiggle room here to say why maybe this still isn't real. But they all see this thing. So from this point on, Kavan's actually on team. We need to stop the apocalypse. Like now he's an ally because he's seen this.
Which I was kind of surprised because I feel like maybe other movies would have him be a bit more of a skeptic, and yeah, using the whole like, well, come on, we were on drugs, like how can we know that was real? But honestly, I like this better. Like I like that. Yeah, he is just like
It's more fun.
yeah, yeah. That I don't know. I mean, that's like a thing we like complain about in other horror movies before, where you always have like the one character that doesn't believe until like the very end or whatever. And it's always fun when people are just like on board, so you can just move forward. Like it feels like it has more momentum instead of just like yeah, continually having to convince someone or whatever.
And it's about the middle or just after the middle of the movie this happens. So it's a really nice like change where all of a sudden, oh, he's on board now. So he's going to like use his show to try and help, and he's going to look into it himself. Now he's a believer. And it's like a religious experience for him. So when he sees this goat, he's like,
Yeah.
huh. Yes, because he actually wakes up his girlfriend and is like, hey, you just go home. Don't worry about the kidnappers. Everything's good. You just leave. But she calls the cops, of course, which leads to a big action set piece, which we'll get back to, because I want to go back and talk about when Father Cura goes back to the boarding house to get the virgin blood, because a lot of stuff happens here that I think's worth mentioning. I mean, obviously, there's the hijinks of him, like, you know, trying to make her, because she offers him coffee and she's just being nice and casual and talking to him, and he's like, sure, yeah, I'll have a coffee. And then he gets a bunch of sleeping pills and he puts them all into, you know, like a little bit of paper or something, so he can like pour it into a drink. And he's like, hey, aren't you having something? And he's basically following her from side to side in the kitchen, be like, sure, have something. I'll feel bad having something on my own. You need to have something too. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll have something. Right? And then and out of nowhere, right, while she's making her tea or whatever, he's like, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, oh God, is he just going to say it? And she's like, sure, Father. He's like, are you a virgin? And obviously she gets all embarrassed, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm a priest. I'm not, this is not for my own doing here. And she's like, oh no, it's fine, I wasn't expecting that question. But yes, I'm waiting for marriage, blah blah blah. Nothing's happening till then. Why did Jose say something? I've never touched him. He's never touched me. And she gets, you know, right. So anyway, she ends up freaking out when he sort of tries to like, because eventually he starts actually saying that he needs her blood, and she's like, but why, a transfusion? And he's like, no, just a little bit. I'll use this syringe. And obviously she's freaking out, and you know, but she's already taken a drink of the tea by this point, so she passes out like halfway through the conversation. But the real money here in this sequence is Jose's mother, the landlady, because she was set up earlier on that she didn't like that Mina let in a new tenant at night, because that's dangerous, right? And she's like, oh, you know, that was dangerous. That could have been like a murderer or a killer or blah, blah, you know, whatever.
And I forget if we've seen much of it at this point, but there's this kind of like running thing going on in the background where there's like these gangs that are committing violence and stuff like throughout the city, which comes into play more later. But. Yeah,
we saw it on the TV news like at the start, like I think at the end of the opening titles we get our first kind of like tease of that. And also when they're following Kavan when he's leaving his studio to go home, because that's how they find his apartment, he stops to get something at the store, and he walks in and the gang has just been there, and like the people inside the store are just dead. And he just doesn't care. He just like leaves money on the counter and takes what he wants and leaves.
I forgot about that. That was kind of that's a funny scene, but it is kind of weird. Like
it just shows how ambivalent he is to the world around him. I guess it's a little bit like that scene in Shaun of the Dead where Shaun doesn't notice the blood and stuff. Obviously, there's not a dead body in that scene, but well, unless you get the zombies in the background, I suppose. But that's different.
Similar concept. Yeah,
similar idea. So they have set up that a little bit, that there's this idea, this one gang keeps going around and killing people, setting them on fire, and leaving a sign that says Madrid, or clean up Madrid is what they keep writing on the walls or whatever. That comes out to play a bit more properly later. But she's saying, oh, I hope one of them comes here so I can break their arms and break their legs. And it's sort of like, she sounds really violent. What the hell is going on here? So she happens to catch the priest dragging the unconscious body of Mina back to his room so he can take the blood, right? And he tries to like avoid being seen. He kind of like hides in the corner or whatever, but she sticks her head out again, just like she did at the start of the movie, and she sees him get in there. So she calls the police and says there's a murderer staying at her boarding house. But when the police ask her for more information, she decides to hang up, because I guess she likes the idea of taking matters into her own hands. And she goes to what I assume is her dead husband's like, you know, chest of drawers, and pulls out his shotgun. And the reason why I'm saying it's her husband's is because there's like a photo of like him in a military uniform, like on the dresser. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is like her husband's stuff, and she's getting the shotgun. Because our boy, Father Cura, he gets like half of his ear shot off. Like she just bursts the door open and shoots him in the side of the head. It's and honestly, this entire fight is like probably some of the most like wild hijinks of the whole movie. Like she's punching him in the face repeatedly. He's just trying to like subdue her and like hold her down, but she is punching, kicking, all the way till we get to the climax, which is obviously in the stairs, where she hits, like she falls over the stairs and hits every single railing and every floor on the way down until she's dangling dead at the bottom. So Jose's mother did not make it out of this, hoisted by her own tights, I think, by the end.
Yeah, this was a really funny scene, very violent, but in a like kind of cartoony, comically kind of way. I mean, it's still visceral, but I don't know, it's like funny as it's happening. And then just skip ahead for a second. I also thought it was really funny later on when he admits it to Jose, and his reaction is just kind of like, well, screw her. Like, and like I feel like other movies, maybe that would be the point where you have the rift in the friendship or whatever. But I like that it's like, no, he's like still like, they're still bros, still along for the ride.
Yeah, he's like, oh, your mother fell and died. Well, technically I pushed her and she died. It was an accident though. And he just sort of pauses for a minute and says, what about Mina? Is she still alive? And he's like, yeah, I think so. I just knocked her out with some sleeping pills and took some blood. He's like, oh, okay. Well, screw that old bitch. She was awful anyway. I hated her. Yeah. I'm like, all right. He like, nothing phases this man loyalty to the priest. Nothing. He's in for life, which isn't very long, it turns out. Obviously he dies by the end of the movie, but still, he's in, and he's like, but I mean, by the time we get to that conversation, he's been like committing crimes that'll get him put in prison for years, by that point. So we'll get to all that stuff, but no, I mean, I think this part where he goes to get the blood and he has the fight with like Jose's mother, that's where the movie like kicks up a gear. I feel like, where from that point on, I feel like, okay, I'm expecting crazier scenes like this now, and I think, to be fair, it does deliver them in a fairly, relatively well-paced manner, where, once we get to the end of the summoning, if you will, and like the police show up and like they're all trying to like jump out the window and like climb on the neon, Jose's like still tripping quite bad, and he wants to let himself fall and die, and they have to hold on to him, but that makes Kavan fall. And he's dangling from his leg, but he ends up falling. But he doesn't fall all the way to the ground, though. He falls like maybe 15 feet to another neon sign that's down below at the sort of the first floor. But he's still alive, though. He's just badly hurt from the fall.
Yeah. This actually might be like my favorite, I guess, running gag in the movie, where like I love just how much Kavan just like keeps getting like the shit beat out of him. Like the movie is like pretty cruel to him, but I don't know, it's funny.
Yeah, he was getting his face like hit with like a cane or whatever, like repeatedly by the priest, like when he was first interrogating him. And then you've got this fall, of course, which I for a second I thought did just kill him, but then he starts like moving, and I'm like, I guess he's all right. And then obviously later on he is well, he basically gets the Two-Face treatment with a fire, where he's like half his face gets burned off. It's yeah, it's just Kavan he gets to live though. He doesn't die like Jose, so that's some. So yeah, after they get away, they're able to sneak back into another apartment and like get through this like family's house, and like the little girl thinks it's Santa Claus because Jose just happens to have a beard, although he's got dark hair. It's not. I mean, other than the fact that he's got a beard, he's not very Santa Claus like. But no. Kids are dumb. You know this. You've got two of them.
Of course, yeah. They'll believe anything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've not even really talked too much about Christmassy stuff, but like it is always there. Like whenever they're out in the street, there's Christmassy stuff. The landlady has a Christmas tree up. They're going to this apartment. It's all Christmassy, and then a lot of the stuff takes place in the next section. Is all out in like the main streets of Madrid. Like there's Christmas lights everywhere. So obviously, they keep talking about the fact that it's December 24th, but it's mostly a visual thing where there's just lights everywhere, and it's it adds to the vibe more than anything else. Even though technically, yeah, if you said that the Antichrist was going to be born in like July 18th, like not much of the movie's premise would change all that much. But it works.
Yeah, it gives it a nice little seasonal flavor. Yeah, would have been nice if there's maybe like some snow or something, but I'm guessing it doesn't really
it's Madrid.
Snow much in Spain.
You're sort of person who watches like Die Hard is like, where's the snow? I don't care that it's LA. Where's my snow?
It's always nice for a Christmas movie just to, that says Christmas to me, but hey, I get it. Not everywhere has snow.
Yes, very true, very true. Can't all be your beloved Stephen King's Maine.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there nothing would be happening because like everyone would be buried under like 8 feet of snow.
So yeah, they just gotta run. They go running around and they're like trying to find like a sign of where the Antichrist is going to be born because they're not really sure. But Kavan like basically like forces himself out of the hospital and he goes to the TV studio and says, cancel whatever they're airing tonight on Christmas Eve. I'm going to do a show. I want people to call in. I need to find this priest and we need to figure out where the birth of the Antichrist is going to be. And there's a whole segment here where his producer is freaking out at him making all these rash choices and he's like, please, what are you doing? You're going to ruin our whole career, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time the security guard's like, hey, Kavan, can I have an autograph for my wife? And he's like being all kind of nice about it and he's getting him to sign it. And Kavan like notices something in his book and he's looking at something that was photocopied inside the book. And then this security guard like picks up a pen and some water that gets spilled and there's kind of exposed electrical wire and the guy just fries. We just see like a flash of light and a bzzz and he looks over and this guy's lying there dead. And I think what they were going for was like, oh, he's getting close to like figuring stuff out. Satan's like doing stuff. Yeah, he's sending a message around. And that was the other thing after they did the summoning is that they burned like the paper that he signed in his blood and the letters that were left after they burned it spelled out in Spanish, this is not a game. But again, is that just a coincidence that like, because he had to rearrange them to get them to say that, but it did happen to use all the letters, so yeah, whatever. Yeah, on you go. I will say like the priest in Jose's like to get to the next part's a little bit just kind of whatever because they just kind of stumble into like a talk. It's like a talk about Nostradamus, right? And they go in and like the priest is convinced, that these people know something about this, and I'm like, I don't know. But he gets so annoyed because the speaker keeps talking about Nostradamus' predictions, and Father Cura just gets up and says, No, Nostradamus has got nothing to do with this. Let me explain to you how this works. And then they end up calling in security. And because Cura won't let it go and security's starting to get a bit more rough and asking him to leave, Jose pulls out that shotgun, right? Which the priest took it from his mum and then brought it with him back to the apartment. So they've had the shotgun for a while. Jose pulls out the shotgun and just starts firing it into the air so everyone screams and scatters. And I'm like, you're firing a shotgun in a public space. Like you're like committing serious crimes to help out this priest. And then it gets worse because now the security start chasing them out into the street and they end up in like a street. Like, I don't think it's the full nativity. I think it's just like Three Wise Men sort of part of it, but there's like a little stage and there's a crowd gathered and the priest ends up hiding with the wise men. And because the security are starting to get close to the priest, again, Jose whips out the shotgun and starts firing it, not into people, he just fires it into the crowd, but it makes people scatter and screaming and all the rest of it. I think the wise men all get killed here. The guards all start firing their gun at the priest, so they all die. Yeah. For me, this segment was very much just to like, how far is Jose willing to go to help this priest? He's like, at this point, he's like, go to prison for like most of his life if he gets caught.
The funny thing is like and I mean I think this is part of what works about it, but it doesn't feel like he's necessarily like, I'm super on board on this mission, like, like, hey, I'm very much into stopping the Antichrist. I mean, like he is, but I mean part of it just feels like he's more just like friends with the priest. Like he just wants to do, like, it feels like he believes in him more than the actual like
Yeah,
mission or whatever. Which again, I think that just works, like, because you like seeing these like two get along and be friends.
I think it's kind of that, and I think it's also kind of just that he's a bit of a nut job who likes the adventure they're on, so he's just into it.
Yeah,
He's just into doing all this stuff. That's what it feels like anyway, from the get go.
And we didn't really mention like how the priest like knows all this stuff about the Antichrist and whatever, which, like, when he kind of explains it, it's like a lot of this like numerology stuff where it's like, oh, like there's secret meanings when you add up like these different numbers and dates and all this stuff, and it's just kind of interesting because I feel like it has such a different connotation nowadays than before, because there's like so many like crazy YouTube conspiracy theorist people that was about this nonsense that you hear, and you're just kind of like, all right, whatever, man.
This was more of a novelty in 1995.
Right, like in 1995, this would be like, you would hear this kind of person like on the History Channel or something and go like, okay, I don't know if I believe it, but maybe there's something interesting there. And then it's kind of like, developed into like, nut job conspiracy theorists, where now it's just like, all right, let's all just take a chill pill and focus on reality for a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, so they end up like he then gets convinced that the band Satanica, like the concert, might have what he's looking for because it's like heavy metal. So he kind of stumbles into there, and because he like pulls like a pendant off some girl, like people just start beating him up. They grab him, they throw him in the bathroom, and this is after Jose's like left for a little bit because they told him to go and like see his grandfather or uncle, whoever it is, and see Mina, make sure they're okay. So he leaves for like a minute. But then Jose comes back and finds him in the bathroom. He's like, oh, I should never have left you. Look at what they've done to you. And when he takes him outside, like Jose's like sitting there being like, it's over. Like, maybe I'm a fool. But they're against like a store that's got TVs in it. And like the Kavan's on TV saying, hey, I'm looking for this priest. If you see him, call me and like put him on the line. So Jose goes over at the payphone, dials the number, gets the priest over. And Kavan's like saying, hey, I figured it out. I figured out where it's going to be. Like, we have to do this. And the funny thing is at this point, like, Father Cura is like, like, maybe this is all a bit nonsense. Maybe I'm doing crazy stuff. Maybe like, this was all for nothing. And I am just, send the police. Just send the police to come and get me. But Kavan believes at this point. So he's like, no, where are you? Where are you? And he kind of figures out where the concert was so he can come pick them up. While he's waiting, though, there's a whole segment here where this gang who's doing these horrific murders and like leaving this like clean up Madrid message on the walls, like we see them just beat up this guy across the street and set him on fire, and it is quite brutal. And then when they leave, the guy on fire just sort of crawls over to the priest and like sort of dies right in front of him, and it kind of feels like I guess a sign for him where he's like, like I'm getting too close, or this is like the warning. So obviously this gang's going to play into the finale. They've spent too much time building up that this is happening around the city, and now we're getting a good look at them. And what's so funny is that we're saying gang. It's like a group of middle-aged guys who are well dressed. It's not like punks who are all wearing like leather jackets and like have mohawks and stuff like that. It's or whatever you picture a gang to be in your head. It's very much like a white collar group of guys. But yeah, no, I thought this was again an effective scene and I think that's the thing is that a lot of the scenes are this weird, quirky, crazy type of like cartoon violence or just kind of a crazy chase scene where they're like running away from the security and they're like, at one point they even rob a car and like force the driver to drive them somewhere. And then you have this type of scene where it's kind of crazy, but it's crazy in a much different way, a much more serious way. So the movie keeps, again, changing it up on you a little bit. So you're never just getting too desensitized to what it's been doing the whole time.
Yeah, it's effective. Like, it's, a little... It can be kind of shocking sometimes to go from, this more, like, cartoony violence to something like this. It just feels cruel or whatever. But, yeah, I can't say, it doesn't work. Like, it's, effective in what it's trying to do. I do like the... earlier when he's in the club or whatever, and he gets into a fight with all the heavy metal dudes, and then just like again, just really like over the top cartoony like violent stuff. Like they like smash his head in like a urinal and it just like breaks apart. I was like, oh Jesus, like that would I feel like, just like make you pass out, like give you a concussion or something.
At least a concussion, maybe death,
Yeah.
but certainly at least a
Possibly.
concussion. Yeah, no, I like that stuff too. I think because, and this is obviously him at his lowest point where he's starting to doubt his beliefs, and it takes the others who he's convinced over the course of the movie. So there is kind of like a weird heart to it where like he's now doubting himself, but the others like, no, you've convinced us. And it's Kavan who, once he shows to pick them up and he gets in the car, he's like, hey, Father, look at these like original messages. This is the mark of the beast. That's what this symbol is. It's not, this or that or whatever. And he drives them somewhere. He makes them stop, he gets out, and he draws on the wall, like, so here's the cross, right? That's the symbol of Christianity. And what is it? Where do they worship stuff? The church. Okay, right? Pretty much, and I don't know if this is true of all churches, but yes, a lot of bigger churches are literally in the shape of a giant cross. If you look at them from a bird's eye view, that's how they design them. And it's like, okay, it makes sense then that the building where they're going to have the Antichrist be born will be in the shape of the mark of Satan. And the mark in this case is like two slanty lines going inwards to almost making a triangle, but kind of separated. It's like, and he's like, turn around. And like, Father Cura turns around. He looks like he's seen God or something. And we get a shot from behind him where we see this literally like pair of towers that are both leaning inwards. And it's like, first of all, these buildings look like they're from like a dystopian sci-fi movie. Like, honestly, they look so out of place compared to the rest of the movie. But maybe they're a real place in Madrid. I have no idea. But they look funky regardless. And it's like, okay, this is where our big finale is going to take place. I really like that shot where we see them for the first time, because it actually felt like a big deal. Like, oh, we've actually been on a journey and we've found what we've been looking for all movie. And I think this is where we get into what I like about the third act, is that we start getting really cool otherworldly visuals here, because we start seeing, at least from the perspective of Father Cura, something that looks like Satan. But I also like this idea that if you don't believe any of this is real, then they still did something good, because by the end of this, they've stopped this gang that are murdering innocent people.
Right.
Right? So they actually have stopped an evil, even if none of this was true. But if it is true, then yeah, maybe they've also stopped literally the apocalypse, and that's okay as well. But well, it's more than okay. Yeah. It's great if they did stop that, then great. But it's all because they stumble in here and they find this gang's here, just killing homeless people, and like the gang then targets them, and there's a bit of a chase and all that. But one of the things the gang do is they fire their gun into like a bunch of homeless people sleeping under cardboard, and one of them happens to be a crying baby. And that's actually one of the thing that stuck out to me the most about this being more extreme than normal, is that later on when Cura does pick up the cardboard, you do see, like, I mean, it's clearly a doll, to be fair, but you get the visual that's supposed to be a murdered baby lying there. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think an American movie, even today, would show you in quite, at least in this way, right? Maybe you get like a foot. You get like a foot sticking out maybe or something like that, but you wouldn't get the whole shebang. That was wild to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like, obviously you never think like that, oh, they used a real baby or anything, but it's still, just kind of shocking to see, because it's not something they show very often.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly fake. There's not a second where you're thinking, oh, they've actually, because I mean, how would they even make a baby play dead? Like, I mean, you can
right.
do you sedate it? I mean, what would you do? So yeah, now there's some big spectacle stuff here, because two of the gang members chase Cura and Jose up to like the top of this building. There's like a sort of because it's like it's still being constructed, whatever this place is, so there's still a lot of scaffolding and like the elevators, the workman's elevator and all that. And they get up to the top and there's like hiding up here, and all the shots up here feel very old school, because they have that kind of like soft optical effect to them where the sky's clearly been like keyed in later. And it's because they're doing like sort of like a red sky. It's almost Crisis on Infinite Earths looking, where the sky's getting red and there's like a vortex kind of opening up. But Cura starts seeing like this sort of goat man style satanic figure instead of one of the men. And this is where I'm like, well, this could just be in his head because this is him thinking he's seen Satan finally. Or it could maybe it is literally Satan. But it is kind of weird that it's not even the leader of the group. It's like just one of them is like supposedly Satan. But all the visuals here I thought were a lot of fun. Even if it felt quite fake, I thought the Satan effect was quite good. I loved Jose jumping out to like distract and like defend the priest again, to the point where he actually gets picked up and like just thrown off the tower by Satan. I thought all this like I was legitimately impressed how this felt like a big end of movie climax, when I thought the place where this movie might falter the most is like, oh yeah, but I bet the third act's not going to like feel like a big deal, right? I wasn't expecting it to get to the end and be like, oh, they're actually giving me visuals that feel like spectacle. But no, they were kind of pulling off some spectacle here, where it felt, you know, like they put some thought and money and effort into this, and there was some cool. Because when I said it kept shaking things up, for me, what the third act introduces is these types of visuals. Was the, you know, Satan walking around and like the fact that we're having a showdown on the top of a tower, which just didn't feel like something I was expecting from this movie. So it kept surprising me.
Yeah, it all ends up being very nice. Like there's a cool look to it. Like yeah, like it might not be as crisp as like other movies, but I don't know. I like that there's, you know, a style to it, and you know, it'd always be better than, you know, a lot of like boring flat digital, you know, looking stuff that you see today. But yeah. I felt like Satan looked cool. And then, you know, a lot of the fight stuff is effective, and again, like, you know, the friendship between father and you know, Jose, like, is very sweet. So you do actually feel it, like when he gets thrown off the building. It's, you know, pretty sad. And then for a while I thought that Kavan was probably gonna die too. He gets like lit on fire, but then yeah, like you say, you end up finding out that he survived, which again is funny to me. It's just like, oh, this guy just like can't die. Like he's,
well, because they're setting him on fire just as Cura's coming back down. So Cura's like picked up a handgun and he's actually finally like shooting at people, so that he actually kills the rest of the gang members. And then he puts out the fire, and like it seems like he might be okay. He's still kind of moving. But this is when he picks up the cardboard, and he's basically, oh, I guess the Antichrist got killed, but we also stopped this gang. And I think it's kind of, that's why I'm saying it's open to interpretation. Well, if you don't believe any of this Antichrist stuff and it was all in his head, well, they at least stopped this evil. Like, all the signs were saying, hey, the evil that was here was this gang who were murdering people like every day. Like, because the news was making it sound like there was like dozens and dozens of victims by this point. So something was accomplished. So the end of the movie is we skip a little bit ahead in time, and there's a new actor doing like Kavan's old job, like doing the whole thing on TV and talking about, you know, the supernatural. And the movie ends with Cura and Kavan. Kavan's like half his face is like kind of got burn marks, and like his beard's kind of half missing. They're just homeless drifters now who are like just chilling, and Kavan's a bit annoyed that no one's ever going to know that they saved the world, and Cura's like, it doesn't matter, let's just go. And then they just walk off into the park, and the credits start playing. So it's definitely like it's almost like it wants to be hard hitting at times, but it also doesn't want you to take it like ultra seriously constantly, right? It wants you to be having fun with what it's doing, and I think it mostly succeeds in doing that. I mean, the final little epilogue scene, I don't really feel particularly positive or negative about. I don't really care about them being like homeless friends who are just sort of wandering now. But I loved all the stuff with seeing the showdown with seeing Satan, and like the fact that they're sort of fighting this gang, so some good's been accomplished. I liked all that stuff quite a bit.
No, I actually do kind of like that epilogue scene. Like I don't know, I think it's kind of sweet that they're like still hanging out, you know, together. Like they didn't just go their separate ways, and yeah, I don't know, it works for me. But yeah, I think that, you know, overall it's yeah, like it's a fun ride. You know, I think it yeah, like sets out what it, you know, needs to do, and yeah, again, like I don't really have any complaints about it. Yeah, there's a I know there's a lot of a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, you're just not passionate about it for whatever reason.
I think it'd be like like sometimes when you're grading something and it's like, oh, this, does it meet expectations or does it exceed expectations? And for me, it's probably more like, well, it meets expectations, which is not a bad thing. Like it's good. It's just, I don't know, maybe I just feel like it has a bit more of a reputation where the people that like it really really like it, and I'm just more on the like, oh, I like it, or I could even say like maybe I like it quite a bit, but I just don't think I quite reached the like I love it stage. But it's not for any like fault of the movie. Like again, I don't think it's doing anything necessarily wrong in it. It's just something about that. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit more positive than you. I think I was feeling the sense of excitement. I was constantly interested in where it was going, and like I said, it kept changing things up in interesting ways where it got a bit more bombastic or a bit more funny, and then it got a little bit more serious, and then it was like, hey, here's some cool visuals towards the end. It felt like it got bigger in terms of set pieces in a way that I didn't see coming. I didn't think I'd be seeing them hanging off a building or having a showdown at the top of a tower. I wasn't expecting anything like that in this movie, or even like a kind of a car chase at one point. Like, I did not think this movie would be doing those things, and it surprised me when it did. So, because part of me thought once they got to Kavan's apartment, oh, the rest of the movie's going to be set here, and it's all just going to be like them torturing him and doing rituals and maybe seeing a vision or something. So I was very pleasantly surprised that it had more up its sleeve than that. So, yeah, it's very good. All right, Tim, what are you giving Day of the Beast out of 10?
I think I'm gonna give it a 7. I think it's good. Again, I don't really have any complaints about it. It's fun. The characters are well done. It's funny. It delivers on its premise, but I kind of wish I was maybe going like a little higher, but I think it's just landing just in a straight 7, just in the good territory for me.
I think I am a little bit higher. I'm just deciding. I think for me it is between the 7.5 and the 8, and I think I'm leaning towards the 8, to be honest. I mean, I guess the only thing for me that like I said, like I think him doing like kind of evil things to like get in good with like Satan because he thinks that's how he's going to get close to him. I think the fact that doesn't factor in at all in the third act. It doesn't matter that he was doing that. Satan was never being tricked by that. He never cared if he's real. And there wasn't really much consequence. There's consequences in the moment for each time he does something bad because someone arrests him or punches him or whatever it may be. But it feels like it didn't like factor in all that much into like finding the place by the end. Like by the end, it's actually it's Kavan who finds the place. So that's like my one little thing is I wish that just mattered a little bit more that he was having to do that whole movie, at least for the first half. But I'm gonna give it the 8. I'm gonna give it the 8. I think it was a pretty great time. I entertaining, kept changing itself up. Characters were fun. It was definitely something I was constantly feeling engaged and interested with, as opposed to something where I was like waiting for the next fun thing to happen or whatever. So, well put together, I thought, and it's just a little bit weird and a bit more interesting than say, the next 6 out of 10 from Blumhouse, or well, it's actually 6 out of 10 for them. It's quite generous right now, to be honest. Actually, that I'm thinking about it, but you know what I mean.
For sure, yeah. Like I'd much rather take this over than like any number of generic stuff that just at least this does feel it has like a heart to it versus something that's just kind of shat out by the studio or whatever.
Yeah, also, I am just since I mentioned Blumhouse, I am sick to death of seeing the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer every time I go to the goddamn movies. I am so ready for that to be out, and so I never have to hear about it again. Thank you very much. Anyway, that is pretty much the show then. Next week on the show, assuming we can, it's a little tough to tell because we're recording this episode a little bit in advance. But hopefully we'll both have access and showings to the new reboot of Silent Night Deadly Night. So that is what we're hoping to have for you next week. If we can't do that, we'll slot in some other Christmas horror movie last minute. But the hope is to have that for next week. So hopefully we'll see you for that. You can support the show over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, or via YouTube membership if that's easier or more your thing, and get access to the bonus episodes. There'll be a Christmas one, and it's like episode 64 or 5 of those, so there's a whole bunch of those back catalogue now you can check out. We do even more streams, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a month, depending on how things go, which are just little extra segments of us talking about a top 5, or played a silly game, or something like that, or reviewing a short film, like when we did the Friday the 13th Sweet Revenge thing for a few months ago. Just random little different extra bits and bobs we can have little discussions on. So go and check out that. And then every once in a while we'll do like a special where we do like a feature length one. In fact, not too long from now, in January, we'll be doing our yearly the year preview episode for the thing. So yeah, check all that out. Thanks to everyone who already does support us. It is greatly appreciated, and it truly does make the show possible. But that is us. That's the show. So thank you very much for joining, everyone. We do appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.